welcome to my second video for Feeding Tube Awareness Week. And this is going to be all about what actually goes into Arlo's feed, so what we put through the tube to feed him. And Arlo gets something called a blended diet. But before we go into that, I just want to make this very clear again that we are not giving medical advice here. This is something that if you are thinking about switching over to a blended diet, if you're already tube feeding, talk to your doctors and nutritionists, dietitians. It's really important to do that. Just want to make that super clear, we're not giving medical advice. So when Arlo first got his feeding tube, he was on a formula, and the formula did its job. It helped him to grow and gain, but it was very short-lived because what we started realizing was he wasn't tolerating the formula well. He was having upset stomachs, he was vomiting, he wasn't really gaining that well, and he wasn't very happy. He was kind of always miserable. So we had already done a lot of research on this and talked to his doctors and nutritionists from day one with the feeding tube about eventually making the switch over to the blended diet. And this is the book they recommended that we read. It's called The Homemade Blended Formula Handbook. And you can get this, I think you can find it on Amazon. When Arlo was about 1, we started slowly transitioning him off the formula and onto the blended diet. In a blended diet, all that means is we are making what is essentially his formula at home out of whole, real foods. So it's not a manufactured formula. It comes from everything that we have in our refrigerator: fresh veggies, fresh fruits, fresh proteins, grains, and we blend it up, and that's how we make it. So when we started to transition Arlo onto the blended diet, we immediately started noticing differences, huge differences. The biggest difference was Arlo actually started eating, and eating a pretty good amount of food. Before this, he was very, very hesitant to eat and really was never hungry to eat, but once we switched, it kick-started his appetite, the vomiting stopped, his reflux symptoms went almost completely away, and he was a different kid. He started gaining weight, he started getting taller, he started looking healthier, and it was probably the best decision we have made for him, other than getting the feeding tube itself. So we were so happy with our decision to switch to blended diet. The blended diet has been around for a while now, but it hasn't really gotten popular. Not that it's super popular now, but it's more popular now than it was with medical professionals. A lot of people are finding that their kids or even themselves just are doing better with whole foods and veggies. They're easier to digest than the formula for some people, so that's ultimately why we switched. And we're very fortunate because Arlo's doctors and nutritionists that we work with are very forward thinking. So they're always willing to think out of the box to help their patients, and we couldn't say enough about his medical team. We love them so much. But anyway, let's get into the good stuff. This is how we make his blend. So these are all of the ingredients that we need for Arlo's blend, and we worked with his doctor and dietitian to come up with a recipe. So the nutritionist or dietitian makes a recipe based on your child's medical needs and age. And you can't see it right now, but we have it all written down so we never forget. It's on our chalkboard. We never could forget what goes in it. And it's very specific to each child. So that's why it's so important before making this switch to the blended diet that your doctors and nutritionists are in the loop already, because they're the ones that are going to come up with this recipe. So our first ingredient is his milk base, and for him, we use something called Ripple. And Ripple milk is relatively new. It's a pea protein-based milk. It's very high in calories and in protein, which is why we chose this. And his dietitian actually pointed us in this direction. So you can get this at Target, but now they're branching out. And here in Western New York, I heard you can find it at Wegmans. I haven't seen it yet, but a friend of mine has. So I know it's there. You just have to look. And it's where like the almond milk and like the alternative milks are refrigerated. It's in the same spot. So milk, and then he gets a 1.5 cups of mixed fruits and veggies. So we have some mixed greens or spinach and other greens in here, and then this is just apple and carrot. And like I said, it changes. There's variation, but this is just what we're making for him today. Next he gets grain, and today we're going to be using bread. So he gets 2 slices of bread. His protein for today is chicken. We normally use chicken. You can use other stuff, whatever you want really, but chicken is just the easiest and it digests really well with Arlo. He gets olive oil. He gets Morton's light salt. And the last thing he gets is a Flintstones vitamin. He gets 1/2 already crushed up. We put it all into our Blendtec. Oh, and that's the other thing. So with the blended diet, you need to have a high-powered, high-speed blender. So a Blendtec or a Vitamix can do the job beautifully. If you use something else like a Ninja or any kind of food processor, it's not going to be smooth enough. It has to be smooth with no little clumps or little parts in it because that will clog the tube. So Blendtec or Vitamix, very important. And we turn it on, and we press the button, and we do our blender dance. We're all done. We just open it, pour it into our mason jar. This just had his milk in it, his Ripple milk. And we store it. Usually we make 1 batch daily and he uses the whole batch in the day. We sometimes will make it a day ahead as well, like make a double batch and then freeze it. If you do freeze it, make sure you use a wide mouth jar if you're going to use mason jars, or else it will expand and crack and gets pretty messy. So he'll take about 24 to 30 ounces of his blend throughout the day total. So that's what you do, that's all it is, and now we just clean up and feed our baby. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope this was informative, and if you have any questions at all, please feel free to comment below and I will definitely answer them. I'll talk to you soon. Bye!